Let's start with stay clean. Okay. Stay Clean manufactures and sells a small range of kitchen equipments. Specifically, the product range contains a dishwasher, washing machine, and tumble dryer. The tumble dryer is of a rather old design and has for some times generated negative contribution. It is widely expected that 1 year's time and the market for this design of TD will cease as people switch to a washing machine that can also dry clothes after the washing cycle has completed. So, Stay Clean is trying to decide whether or not to cease the production of TD now or in 12 months. Okay, rather to help with this decision, the following information has been given: sales price, material cost, labor cost, contribution per unit, and annual sales. It is thought that some of the customers that buy a TD will also buy a WTW and a WM, and it is estimated that 5% of the sales of WM and DW will be lost if TD ceases to be produced. Okay. Let's read out this question once again. So Stay Clean manufactures and sells a small range of kitchen equipments. Specifically, the product range contains a dishwasher, a washing machine, and a tumble dryer. The tumble dryer is rather old design and has for sometimes generated negative contribution. So it is widely expected that in 1 year's time, the market for this design TD will cease as people switch to washing machine that can also dry clothes after washing cycle has completed. So we have seen that now the demand for TD is reducing because the design is quite old and people are buying dishwasher and washing machines much more. Mm-hmm. Stay Clean is trying to decide whether or not to cease the production of TD. Okay. And or in 12 months time, when the new combined washing machine or dryer will be ready to help with this decision. Okay, so this is a question of decision making. We have been given information of selling price, material cost, and labor cost, contribution per unit, in fact annual sales for DWWMTD. It is thought that some of the customers that buy TD would also buy a DW dishwasher and a washing machine. Okay, it is estimated that 5% of the sales of washing machine and the dishwasher will be lost if TD ceases to be produced. Okay. All other direct labor forces currently working on TD will be made redundant immediately if TD is seized now. So there is a redundancy cost as well. This would cost 6,000 of redundancy payment. If we seize TD, we will have to pay. The Stay Clean will have to pay 6,000 as redundancy payment. If Stay Clean waited for 12 months, the existing labor force would be retained and retained at a cost of 3,500 to enable them to produce the new washing or drying products. Okay, recruitment and training cost of labor in 12 months would be 1,200 in the event that the redundancy takes place now. So stay clean operates just in time policy, so all the material would be saved on TD for 12 months if TD production cease now. Equally, the material cost relating to the lost sales on washing machine and dishwasher would also be saved. However, the material supplier has a volume based discount. Okay, the discounts have been given over here. Stay Clean uses this supplier for all the materials for all products it manufactures, and the figure given above in the cost per unit table for material cost per unit are net of any discounts Stay Clean already qualifies for. Okay, so the cost which have been given in the above table, the material cost is already the cost after applying this discount which has been given by the supplier. The space in the factory currently used for TD will be sublet for 12 months on a short term lease contract. If production of TD stops now, the income from the contract will be 12,000. The income from the contract will be 12,000, and the supervisor currently supervises the production of all three products, spending approximately 20% of their time. Okay, 20% of their time on TD production, and they would continue to be fully employed if the TD ceases to be produced now. Calculate. Now, first part which is here is asking us calculate whether or not it is worthwhile ceasing to produce the TD now rather than waiting for 12 months. Okay. So basically, we need to calculate whether there is any benefit if we cease close down TD. How much savings will Stay Clean make if TD is stopped? All right. So how to calculate that saving? We have been given the selling price, which is 80, and the annual sales. So first we'll consider the revenue. Okay. Revenue. Now TD sales were 1200 units and the selling price was 80. So the sales revenue, if TD is stopped, then I think this will be not saving, but this will be a loss. Okay, so 1200 into 80, this will be 96,000 revenue lost. Okay, also over here it was written if TD is seized, then it can be sublet. Should we consider that information? Yes, we should. If TD is stopped, if we are talking about revenue, right? We are talking about the revenue lost. We're talking about revenue lost. So this is revenue lost. This is a loss. This is a loss. So we will add a minus sign over here, because whatever savings I'll be showing, I will be showing that in positive. So you need to be very careful about that. I was just reading out this income. If TD is seized, so that factory space would be let out, and it will be let out for a short term lease will be there, and the short term lease amount would be for 12,000. So this is a revenue and this is a savings. So revenue from short term lease, this is 12,000. So this is positive for me. I will not take any minus sign. For materials, we'll calculate it for later on. Okay. Now the supervisor supervises the production of all three producing, spending approximately 20% of their time on TD. They would continue to be fully employed if TD ceases to be produced now. Do we need to consider anything for supervisor? No, because whatever the time that the supervisor was giving in the TD, now the supervisor will be giving that time to the other products, that is DW and WM. So ultimately I do not need to include this in my relevant cost. So I can say that the supervisor cost is 0. Okay, so this is done. I do not need to continue this. I will come in this point later on. Material, okay, material cost, labor cost. Now labor, if we see, this is something, and the second point is related to material. Labor in information related to labor cost is giving in note 3. So all direct labor forces currently working on TD will be redundant immediately. Okay, will be redundant immediately. So if TD is ceased, then an additional cost of 6,000 rupees will have to be paid. So I'll just write a note over here which is related to labor cost. First, I will have to say that I will have to pay the redundancy cost. I think my spelling can be wrong. So redundancy cost was 6,000. Now this is not a saving, this is an extra cost. So I have shown it as a loss. If Stay Clean waited for 12 months, if it waits for 12 months, then the existing labor force will be retained and only a training cost will be incurred. So if I cease, how much savings can I make? I will save this 3,500 training cost, right? I will incur this 6,000 which I've shown it as an expense, but at the other time, if I choose to cease TD, then I will be saving this 3,500, because if it waits for 12 months, then the training cost which TD will have to incur will be 3,500. Okay, so I will include that into savings of training cost 3,500 I've saved. Recruitment and training cost will also be saved, I believe, or will it be a cost? Recruitment and training cost of 12 months time would be 1,200. In the event that redundancy take place, if I declare these employees redundant, then recruitment and training cost will have to be paid as well. So additional cost, or I can say additional redundancy cost. What is the spelling of redundancy? How much was the 1,200? Yeah. So ultimately, if I cease TD, then there is a loss of 3,700. I will include it over here. Labor cost 3,700. This is a very good question. After this, now labor cost has been included. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, if this is direct labor force, this all entire labor, this also will be saved. This 40,000, this 40 per unit will also be saved. I forgot to um, include it. A savings labor cost, that is 40 into 1200. So 40 into 1200 will be 48,000. So my net saving is 48,000. This 3,500 minus 6,000 minus 1,200. So these are the net savings. Okay, so I'm benefiting actually. Now that's what I wondered. If it's showing negative, then what is the benefit of closing it? So 44,300 done. Now labor cost is done. Now I'm left with material. Now material is a bit tricky. You read this point too. It is thought that some of the customers that buy TD also buy DW and WM, and it is estimated that 5% of sales of WM and DW will be lost if TD ceases to be produced. So if we cease out TD, it will lead to what? Reduction in the demand of DW and WM as well. It seems that if people are buying TD, then they are also buying dishwasher and WM, and that information is given as well. And over here we are given this discount chart as well, and over here it was written whatever material cost is given in the table is net of discount only. Okay, let's calculate the material cost, which is really important part of this question. Material cost, DW, WM, TD. Okay, now what is the material cost? 70 into 5,000 for DW. 70 into 5,000, it is 3,50,000. For WM, the material cost is 100 into 6,000, which is 6 lakh. And for TD, it is 50 into 1200. 50 into 1200, this is 60,000. So this is the net cost, because this is after discount only, so I'll say this is net cost. After discount amount is net cost. So the net cost is 101,000. Then how much is my gross amount? So the discount is what? The discount is 5%. The discount is 5%. So how will I calculate 5% discount? How did I conclude over here? Because it is saying if my annual expenditure is exceeding 9,60,000, I will get 5% discount. So my discount rate over here is 5%, and therefore my gross amount would be what? This will be 1,10,000 into 100 divided by 95, which is 1063158. So this is the gross amount. Okay, if I seize TD, my 5% of purchases will decline because my demand is declining for DW and WM. So my purchase of 5% will also decline for DW and WM. So let's calculate how much decline will there be. Decline in sales, 5% of 3,50,000. Was it 5%? How much was the decline? Yeah, it was 5%. So 3,50,000 into 5%, that is giving me 17,500, and 6 lakh 5%, it will give me 30,000. So the gross amount of net cost which will the total amount of net cost which will get reduced due to seizing is 47,500. Okay, and this 47,500 was included in this category, so the discount for this category was 5% already. And what is the gross amount? The gross amount comes out to be 50,000. Now I will reduce this. Okay, also I will have to, if TD is seized, then my purchases would reduce for 60,000, right? Seized demand or seized purchase of material, that will be 60,000. Now this 60,000 is reduced, so this was also in the 5% category. So what is the gross amount? This is 63,158. Okay, so the remaining gross amount will be or I can say this is the new purchase. So the new purchase will be 1,636,158 minus 50,000 minus 63,158, and it will give me a gross amount of 9,50,000. So my new purchases now will be of how much amount? This will be of 9,50,000, and 9,50,000 is now coming in the category of 3%. So discount on new purchase or purchases post TD is seized. You can also say that as well, whatever like you need to categorize it as. So I'll calculate the discount. No, it's 3%, sorry, 3%. So it's 28,500, and so the net purchases post TD is seized will be 9,50,000 minus 28,500, which is the new discount, which is 921,500. Okay, 921,500. So earlier, what was my earlier before seizing TD, what was my net cost? It was 1,10,000. Okay, so the incremental cost or savings would be how much? By reducing 1,10,000 by 9,21,500. Which is 88,500. So what is this? Is it my savings or is it my cost? I am saving this. because if I see TD, now my net purchases will, my material cost is getting reduced for 1,10,000 to 9,21,500. So these are my savings, and hence I can say savings on material cost, it is 88,500. Alright, so now I need to see something which I have missed. A very important information that I forgot to use for my calculation was, it has given that if TD sees 5% sales of DW and WM will be lost. If 5% sales of WM or DW is lost, then contribution will also be lost of DW and WM. And will that be saving or will that be a loss? That will be a loss. And we need to calculate that. So, lost contribution of DW and WM. I'll write it all over again. So for DW, the contribution was how much? For DW, the selling price was 80 and the selling price for DW was 200 and contribution 80 is already given. Now we cannot consider this contribution which is given in the question for the calculation perspective, because I have calculated the material cost separately, the savings on the material cost separately. So I will exclude that, since I have already separately calculated the contribution. Since I've already calculated the savings on the material cost, I will not include that in my calculation right now, because see, this is something which is the product sales that will be loss will be 5%. Alright, so if my contribution was 80 and I add back my material cost, if I'm not considering that, it would become the contribution would become 150. Am I right or wrong? And I would take the 5% of it. Now, or another thing can be done, that for perspective of calculating the new contribution, I will do 200 minus 50. Why? Because material savings on the material have already been calculated over here. So if I will include this in my loss contribution again, so I will be calculating the 5% purchases, the decline in purchases again. That means twice, and I want to avoid it because the 5% decline has already been calculated over here. So for this perspective, I will try to ignore. So hence for DW, the contribution was 200, the sales price was 200, and my labor is the only cost now which is left, which is 50. And how many units are there? There are 5,000 units. And how much loss will be there in the sales? 5%. So it is 37,500, and WD selling price is 350 and the labor cost is 80. and the number of units was 6,000. So this is my lost contribution, and I will include this over here. There were two options basically. Either you could exclude this 5% loss of material from this, and you would have included in your loss contribution over here. Either you could do it like this, or you could include it in this calculation. Why I chose to include this loss of 5% purchase of raw material in this calculation, because we had been given a chart which was the discount rate chart, and this the units, or the 5% units which were being declined due to the reduction in the sales, were falling in the category of 5% discount. And since I have included this 5% decline in the raw material purchase in the material cost calculation, so I do not need to include this again in this calculation. This will be an error. This will be like lead to a double reduction of the cost, and this will show my losses more. So either I can calculate it over here in this calculation, or either I calculate this reduction in purchases of raw material. So let's calculate what is the net loss or net gain. I am getting a loss of 69,700. So I am getting a loss of 69,700. Okay. B part, explain two types of pricing strategy that could be used to improve the financial position of the business in next 12 months, assuming that TD continues to be made in that period. So if TD continues to be produced in that period, one is the complementary pricing policy, which was very obvious. Anybody can judge that, because it was given in the question that if the demand, if TD is reduced, if TD is seized, then demand for DW and WM would get reduced by 5%. So the demand of WM and DW was dependent on TD, and hence I can say the complementary pricing policy is applicable. And other can be the product lines. There are three products basically, and we can introduce the product line prices. So all the products tend to be related to each other. Okay, in this case it is very much visible and used in the utility room or kitchen. Some sales will involve all three products if customers are upgrading their utility room or kitchen. For example, a package price could be offered, and as long as Stay Clean makes a contribution on overall deal, then they will be better off. So discuss briefly Stay Clean should consider if it decides to outsource the manufacture of one of its future products. Now, outsourcing requires a lot of consideration. There are financial and non-financial factors as well. So the cost of manufacturing should be considered uh, compared to the cost of buying in firm. We need to compare both the cost, actually, the cost of manufacturing internally and cost of buying as well. So we need to compare both these costs. What is the cost benefit analysis? We need to do that. And the reliability of the outsourcer should be, assessed, whether the outsourcer would be delivering the products on time or not, whether the quality of the product will be maintained or not, all the prices being quoted by the supplier would be um, stable or not, and also the supplying time, the quality, delivery, and supplying, everything is maintained or not. So this needs to be considered. The loss of control also, if you need to outsource this, then there will be a loss of control by stay clean. And if stay clean wanted, say, to change the color of a product, then at present it should be able to do that, having contracting with an outsourcer. So this may be more difficult to do that, and may involve penalty as well. Okay, so this is it.